Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally?
Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going?
Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Our two championship protagonists are now even closer than they were last round, with the gap narrowing from 6 points to 2. Daly and Kavisto are setting up what could be an absolutely epic season finale. But before they get there, today's race at Silverstone will decide exactly what that picture looks like. Let's see what's in store as we get ready to watch round 19 of the Sunday Drivers' Cup, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We've been at Silverstone a couple times this season, but in case you missed it, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff in quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory. But in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, theoretically, DJ, this should be a simple track because essentially all they've done is take the full GP version and chop it in half, but it is anything but if you've ever driven it.
Yeah, it's a very technical circuit, Joe, and because of leaving out that second part of the lap, what it ostensibly does is it eliminates some of the longer straights around here, which means this becomes far less of a power circuit and far more of a technical circuit. Still a couple areas to overtake. Look primarily going down into Abbey as one of the good areas, and if somebody makes a mistake coming down through that Brooklands Luffield complex. But really and truly, that run, Priory, Brooklands, and Luffield, very, very difficult. It's all about carrying momentum and carrying speed as much as possible and not trying to scrub speed by sliding across the tracks in these MX-5s. So watch out for that. Another big area to watch out for, of course, we got to talk about it. It's Copse. No downforce in these MX-5s, which means you're going to have to do a little bit of brush braking, a little bit of lifting going down into that corner, and that can really, really throw you off if you're not careful.
Yeah, obviously they have all that paved runoff, but if you spin off into there, that's going to be a lot of lost time. Now, as I mentioned, it's kind of down to two drivers between Daly and Kavisto that could take the championship from here, and there is 2 points between them. Stefan Alderding, unfortunately, because of drop weeks, is effectively out of it. Now, speaking of the drop weeks, Callie has 23 points that he gets no matter what today, and Tom has 24 points. So the farthest apart they can get today is actually only 10 points away at the finale. Still, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. So Kavisto is probably going to be hoping for the best for him and the worst for Tom Daly, at least below. I think it's fourth place, essentially, and Tom will go to his drop weeks. But that's how consistent he has been. Watch out for the battle for seventh, as that one still is extremely tight there in the mid-pack between some of our competitors. What about in the teams championship here, DJ?
Well, in that team's championship, it's still pretty close up at the top with Wampy Motorsports and Positive Delta Motorsports only separated by about 9 points. From there back, iRacing Netherlands has been making a very good charge over the past couple of rounds, and they sit with an outside chance to maybe be able to move their way up if Wampy and Positive Delta have a bad day. From there on out, Spirit 14 really in an island unto themselves, as is kind of Sus Racing. The next battle that we really have on our hands is for 6th between Simtech Racing and TGR. GTD Racing, then Darius Scary Racing and GIF Racing round out your top 10.
In the Nations Cup, it's Ireland back on top of Finland, but it's been swapping back and forth a lot. The Netherlands been staying stuck in it since they have quite a few quick drivers in this series as well. So slightly different than what we've seen in the Drivers' Championship, with 3 potentially able to take it here today. The UK kind of having dropped back or on their lonesome in 4th place. Not much that they can do to lose that spot or gain another one from here in these final 2 rounds. From there on down, really not too many of them are close together except for Spain, Bulgaria, and South Africa, who could potentially swap around depending on what kind of finishing positions each of those countries sees today. Let's go through our race details, DJ, for what they have in store.
Well, Joe, we're in the 19th of 20 rounds. That's right, the penultimate round here, so those points up at the top between Callie and Tom going to be all the more crucial. It's going to be an 18-lap race around here, which should factor out to about 30 minutes or so. Fixed setup, so the only thing that these drivers have that is different between them is the meaty part behind the wheel of the car. We do have a bunch of bonus points available for you on the day. You get one for pole, fastest lap, and hardest charger. And keep an eye on those top 2 in particular. I think those could be of very, very much importance as we get down into the final 2 rounds here, and that battle between Rantanen and Daly continues to heat up.
Absolutely. So Daly currently has that bonus point for provisional pole, but he's got to hold on to it here. He's got nearly a second over his next rival, Michael Elliott, in 2nd place. But let's watch Kalle Kavisto, who currently is in 7th. Now, he could maybe jump up here, but as we heard DJ mention, the pole position bonus and, of course, the fastest lap bonus, probably the 2 that both Tom and Callie are going to be vying for unless something strange happens in this qualifying and they attempt to get a hardest charger.
Yeah, I don't really anticipate that being a bonus point that they're going to be fighting for. Apologies, I meant Kavisto, not Rantanen. When I spoke a little bit earlier, got my Callies confused. But right now, here comes Kavisto across the line. That's a little bit more like it. He's going to jump up to P2.
Yeah, and it's still 0.8 of a second behind Tom Daly, though. That first, actually his 2nd flying lap was really a stunner, as it put him far ahead of everybody else. Rantanen is pretty close to Kavisto, interestingly enough, as he sits in 3rd position. And there's a little bit of a shorter lap around here than what we usually see at Silverstone. So it should be smaller margins in most cases, but is not up at the top of the field. We're watching Longo right now in 11th place. He has to make up about 0.5 to catch the car ahead of him. And in fact, I talked about those small margins. When you go from essentially 7th down to, I believe, about 13th spot, they're only separated by about 0.2.
Yeah, it's very, very close running there, really with the exception of Tom Daly's mega lap up at the top of the field. Here comes Longo coming across the line. That's going to be an improvement, going to be able to bump the number 87 up into 5th place. So a good running there for Alexandra. Going to be very, very pleased with that, I think, will be the Frenchman. Now we jump back here to Jordan Zvetanov. He's had a little bit of an up and down season over the course of the year, Joe. He's had a couple of wins as he goes, but other times we've seen him kind of mired down in the mid-pack. It seems a little feast or famine here for the number 8 as he crosses over the line. Going to see a couple of tenths of an improvement there, and that'll jump him up to P8.
Yeah, you got to think if he had found a little bit more consistency throughout, he could have been a player in the championship hunt, but just was not able to stay with it and keep the problems away on the days that he was fast. As we watch Zegular in 17th, he's currently got a 37.3, just about a 37.4 on the board currently, but he has to make up 0.3 to catch Mackenzie Mann. Now, he does have a nice toe from a guy that you really want a good toe from. That's Daly directly in front.
Yeah, and, I mentioned here that this isn't going to be a power circuit necessarily. We ostensibly cut out both the Hangar and the Wellington Straits on this layout, but there's still some time that you're going to be able to gain being behind the draft of another car. And that combined with the fact that these MX-5s, these Miatas, do not have any downforce on them, so you don't have to worry about the aero wash. If you're able to keep yourself kind of in this position where Zegular is, just a couple of tenths of a second behind, get a nice heaping of the draft coming down the straightaways, not have to check your braking compared to the driver in front of you, that's going to be a win-win for you.
All right, he's coming to the line. I'm not showing him on a quick one, though. We'll see if my timing is off here. And as he crosses, no, that's not an improvement for Zegular. He'll keep going around and do his best. Kavisto, though, I'm seeing half a second improvement. That won't get him pole, but this will be a good sign for him, especially with about 4.5 minutes left to go. 35.5, yeah, he's down to within 0.3 of Tom Daly. That's a lot more doable, but now Zvetanov gets himself within that 135 mark. Only 3 drivers have ducked below 136s, and Zvetanov seems to be finding his feet.
Yeah, Zvetanov putting in a good time. We take a look here at the TGR number 13 of Victor Oliveira as he works his way down now under bridge and into Priory. Let's see what the number 13 is going to be able to do. I'm taking a look here at my live timing and scoring. Looks like he was quick through the first 2 sectors, setting personal bests there, so this could be a good run for Oliveira.
Right. Just a couple more corners to go, but the car is getting a little bit sideways. Hopefully he didn't lose too much time. He is starting to drop some of what he's gained up to now, but he's getting a pull from Lancaster in front of him as he crosses the line. It is going to be a 35.9. That is a great improvement. In fact, good enough for row 2 and 4th.
Yeah, that was a great run there for him as he goes. Oliveira going to be very, very pleased with that. Only 86 thousandths of a second off the cars in front of him as Peter Reed is also going to be an improver there. He's going to jump up to P10.
Yeah, gained a ton on that one. I think it was 0.7 faster than his previously best lap. So we head over to Bacchus, who is in 19th. And the number 10 machine has only set 1 competitive time. All the other laps have been deleted for him, so must have been a little bit wide at some of these more paved runoff corners and cost himself. He'll get 1 more shot after this one, maybe 2 if he reaches the line in time.
Yeah, let's see here for the South African driver. Again, lap times being about 1:35. That's the fastest lap times that we're seeing, so that's going to be the key marker here for Emanuel Bacchus. So Carr having a little bit of a problem there behind him, but able to gather it up and keep going. He's not going to get the benefit of the draft here, but I still think the number 10 could be on for a pretty decent time here. Let's just keep our eyes focused as he brings that car around. Is he going to have anything here? Maybe improve from that 19th place position.
Van Rassel went up to 9th with his latest lap. Amanola does go quicker, a 37.3, but he does not gain his spot. He stays in 19th. What about Ellett, who briefly was in 2nd place, 35.7? Ooh, that's good enough for 3rd.
Great run there for the South African driver, and very crucial there for Positive Delta Motorsport. Remember, they're involved in that teams battle that we're going to want to keep our eye on. Here is Martin Pinheiro trying to work his way around, currently in 12th place, trying to improve on a 36.5.
It's looking like a good lap right now in that bright blue car, but he goes way off, and I think that may have been too far. I expect this is going to get deleted. Unfortunately, it was looking good up till there. He crosses the timing line, and indeed, it does not count. He's towing Daly along as we hop over to Alderding in the 51. 36.2 is his quickest. Another driver that's taken wins here and there and has a good second half of the season, but it was not good enough to get him back into the hunt for the crown. So what can he salvage today? Can he move any higher up than just a top 10? 35.7. Yeah, I'd say so. That's up to 4th for him.
Good run there from Alderding. He's going to be very pleased with that. Here is Tom Daly, though, just starting out on a new lap on the run here, on this sort of crossover, let's call it, that runs from that Maggots and Beckett's complex to the created hairpin here for Abbey. It's a little bit, frankly, sort of almost disconcerting, Joe. It throws you off your game a little bit, having to make that turn coming out of Maggots. Silverstone is such a track that is ingrained in most people's brains. Is there, Michael Ellett jumps up to the top of the charts.
I just noticed that myself, so Ellett has given him something to think about. He is only 0.04 of a second quicker than Tom Daly. Tom was improving briefly in the lap, but it looks like he's starting to slip up here later on. Cavisto's not on a flyer, so he's not going to be able to improve. Tom Daly coming around, and that was, I think, within the realm that Ellett could cycle back around. Daly's going to abandon his lap. He's going to accept second place.
All right, well, that's one last point that he can take away. I just saw Callie Cavisto cross over the start-finish line. That's not going to be an improvement there for the number 1, but good jump up for Javi Lopez there up into P7.
Alderding is going to try and go quicker here, and he's got a good shot at this. He's, or at least at 3rd place, as I'm seeing him going slightly quicker. Let's see what the final corner holds. Crosses the line, and it's a 35.773, 0.03 faster than his previous lap. That's not going to get him a spot, unfortunately. We jumped down to 15th in the meantime.
Melvin Tuen here working his way around right now down through Luffield. That's going to be, Xander Wera. That's Devia right up in front of him. I think that may have actually been a little bit of car contact, Joe, and that'll invalidate Tuen's lap.
Yeah, it seemed like I saw some smoke coming off the tires or something as well, so not going to be good pretty much regardless, I'm sure. Whoa, no, it is 36.3. He jumps up to 13th despite expectations. However, that is everyone done with qualifying, and the order is now set. It's neither of our two that we've been eyeing that will take that bonus for pole. It's going to be Michael Ellett instead, but that is the teammate of Callie Cavisto. So he's going to sandwich Tom Daly, who starts in 2nd, with Cavisto in 3rd. Could that be a help for them later on? Stefan Alderding will be P4, and Zvedanov, good enough for 5th today, will be flanked by Oliveira starting in 6th. Xavi Lopez will be P7 with Callie Rantanen in the 8th position. Sander Ware, good enough for P9 as he's got Andre Longo, Alexandre Longo rounding out your top 10.
It's going to be Willem van Rassel in P11, followed by Peter Reed with Melvin Tuen and Martin Pinheiro in P14. Stephen Orrell lines up to the inside of row 8 with James Austin to his outside. Then it's going to be Patrick Alders and Aaron McGrath. Mackenzie Mann lines up 19th, and Pedro Merriman will round out your top 20.
Avanella Bacchus starts 21st with Renee Zegelar in 22nd. David Geddes starts 23rd today. You've got Brett Ride up next, followed by Tim Lancaster and Bruno Albino in 6th spot. Arturo Davila starts 27th. Alvaro Rodriguez will be the next one, followed by Bart Verkerk and David Mitchell, with David being the only one failing to set a lap time in the qualifying. Everybody else managed to put one on the board. So they line up now, DJ, and there's only 2 races left to go. The pressure is on.
The Pressure is very much on, and I would not be surprised here if we see a little bit of elbows out from your title contenders of Daly and Kavisto. This is going to be very, very high stakes for the two of them. They need to finish in front.
Ooh, I hope Michael Ellett is aware that he's got his wheel kind of cranked right now. I'm not sure if he knows. When you're inside the cockpit, sometimes it just isn't apparent because you might think it's centered, but it's turned around 360 degrees to one way. This could be disastrous if he does have an incident. And also for Tom Daly, this could be fantastic because he could take the lead away pretty quickly, while Kavisto wants his teammate to try and balk his competitor. Waiting for Verkerk to line up. He's the last amongst them right now, starting from that 29th position. He's actually completely around the curved start zone that we have here in the old Silverstone, with the old pit lane being just between Copse and Woodcote. So it's taking his sweet time, honestly, as he's still not out there. And as soon as he does, we will be ready to start this race. He's got about 15 seconds, and then they're going to leave without him, unfortunately. And that clock continues to tick down. There he is now out on the grid. The lights are up, and the green flag is out. And just as I expected, Ellett steers off to the side. He's slow because of it, and Daly is through. Will Kavisto also managed to sneak by. He's almost got a nose ahead as they come up into Copse. Behind them, Stefan Alderding is watching. It's wheel to wheel between the teammates, but it's going to be Ellett who comes out ahead.
Couple of drivers having some problems there on the back. I think that was long go, and I'm seeing Patrick Alders as well spun around. Also, they're in the midst of all of that. It looks like that Kalle Kavisto has lost a bucket load of time. He's all the way down into 7th position. We've got another car off. That's Javi Lopez.
And Victor Oliveira, but Victor saves it until he spins again and catches someone. I can't quite make out who that is, but he tipped a car around. That looked like maybe Daly's teammates, or was that actually Daly? That was Tom Daly. He's gotten caught up in it, and he falls down the order. Remember, 4th or better will get him points, but beyond that, he has to rely on his drops.
And it is now all down to him to try to work his way forward. He finds himself well down the order in 21st. He has got a whole heaping of work to do here. Looks like he's pretty quick, already making a move there up to the inside as there's a little bit more contact, and he's spun around again.
His teammate Aaron McGrath was the one turned around that he had to avoid, and I think maybe a bit of a cause of that, and he gets tipped again. There's got to be damage on that car. Checking to see, no, he does not have a meatball flag, miraculously, despite multiple contacts already, but he's effectively running last place after one lap.
Oh my goodness gracious, what a terrible run here for Tom Daly. But we've got to focus back in on the front of the field. We ride on board with Stefan Alderding right now as he comes behind Kalle Kavisto. And remember, I mentioned Kavisto had a terrible start, but all of the calamity that fired off in front and around him has allowed him to be able to gain back up exactly where we started, up into 3rd.
And same thing with Ellett. Despite having that issue off the line with his steering wheel turned, he is our leader once again. But the man who has capitalized the best is Vedinov. He is up into 2nd place, starting from 5th today. And then how about James Austin? 11 gained in the first lap and up to 5th place. Whoa,
oh, and Ellett. That's Ellett. That's your leader spinning there out of the Baggots complex.
Wow, so this has been a tricky one, and another car gets tipped around just beside him. Victor Oliveira again finds himself involved in an accident coming through the Maggots and Beckett sequence.
Well, let's jump back to check out the replay here. Takes a big helping of the curb. Oh, he just got offline, cut that corner. That's going to give him a little bit of not what he wants. Got onto the grass on the outside there of Maggots. That completely unsettled the car. And while it looked like there from the outboard perspective that he had it gathered up back under him, I guarantee you if we were to watch on board, you would see that wheel counter steering because he just slid across the tarmac.
Well, we were talking at the top of the show how Zvetinov has been inconsistent, but has won a couple. He's got a great opportunity to do so again today. But in that process, he's got to play defense on both Alderding and Kavisto.
Yeah, he does. He's going to be a little bit having to look behind here at this point. Kavisto has been passed by Stefan Alderding, but still finds himself in 3rd place, a result of Ellett's spin.
Ooh, Daly was making positions up, but he just had another off track now, having to avoid a wrecking car. There's his start, and the way that he sprung into the lead that unfortunately all kind of unfolded around him eventually through the lap. It was all looking bright here, but certainly the clouds came in later.
Yeah, they certainly did. Good getaway. Looked like he was able to pull out into the lead really with no problems at all. Let's continue to watch here as he comes through the first part of Maggots, and this is a lot harder than it is when you're running the full course because you've got to get the car slowed down, woed down enough, and he just brought too much speed into the corner there, Joe, with what I imagine is a little bit of colder tires, and those rear tires just refused to grip up, and that spent the number 67 spinning around.
In the meantime, we got a battle for second between Kavisto and Alderding coming out of the Abbey hairpin. Svetanov enjoying that because he was under threat from Stefan not long ago. Kavisto gets the position. He's now into P2. Something must have happened to Van Rassel as well, as I just saw him drop about 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, I think it did as well as he's fallen back down in the order. We keep our eyes here fixed on Alderding in that number 51, trying to work his way forward, see what he's able to get, to see if he's able to close in a little bit onto the back of Kavisto. Runs wide there coming through Luffield. That is an alternate line you can take, Joe, to really try to diamond off the corner, but I think the fastest way through there is really to just hug the curb the entire way through.
Svetanov's in the pits.
What?
He had a black flag. He must have jumped the start. Maybe that's how he gained so many positions. I'm checking. Yeah, all of his laps up from the very start have been deleted. So he must have jumped the start and has had to serve that, which means Kavisto is leading once again, but it is now between himself and Alderding, as those are the last two standing of the front runners from that wild first few laps.
My goodness, it just goes to show you here on the SDC, you can never take your eyes off of the prize. Something crazy can always happen, as now James Austin, one of our biggest movers of the race, is spun around coming out of Maggots.
He's going to get it turned back around. You can see the smoke from his car getting turned, and he is going to get back on track here, about 13th position as he's overtaken by Sander Ware and David Geddes. Here is James Austin's incident. This is, again, going to affect that team's championship, as the Wampy Motorsports team was looking good at the start of this race, but have had multiple incidents now since then.
Yeah, and it really just looks like that Maggots right-hander is just throwing everybody off here, Joe, and I think it's probably a combination of you've got to slow the car a little bit down more than you expect to be able to come through that corner. It's also a little bit of, as I sort of said, throws you off your game. You're not expecting it in the way that it comes, and it's just a really difficult corner to get your way around, as there's more in front of Mackenzie Mann.
Oh, and I think that was a problem with Pinheiro. And the 53 is going to get the car rolling once again. Emanuel Bacchus comes to a halt and has to take a tow. He must have gotten severe damage out of that. We're going to take another glance at what potentially started this. This is Martin. So we'll see if he's the first one to start to lose it here coming through Luffield. Yep. Oh. And he gets a little help in the process.
I think he gets a big bit of help there, and unfortunately tried to look like he was holding the brakes there to just get that car woed up and not be a little bit of a roving chicane, but I don't think anything happened. I got to put the blame on Peter Reed here, though. You see him get out of line there, and Peter just kind of surges ahead, obviously not expecting that car in front of him to slow down up to that mark, but still, he was the one that provided the love tap to spin him around.
Well, this has been a bit crazy out there in these first few laps. Drivers trying to find their feet, but some having more trouble than others as we continue to watch the battle for P1. Kavisto versus Alderding. Steve Orrell behind them, who is the last driver on the podium. He's gained 12 spots. Pedro Marimon behind him has gained 16. So there have been those that have kept their heads cool.
Very remarkable. I think this is going to be a race of attrition here for a lot of these drivers. They've just got to keep themselves pointed the right way, and then and only then will they find themselves up into the good positions.
Van Rassel battling with Sander for the 8th spot. Remember, Sander lost a bunch of positions early in this race and is actually a net gain of 1 so far. So he's really gathered that back up and has managed to at least get himself close to where he was at the beginning. And Martin in the background is going to be coming into pit lane, assuming for his spare car after he took multiple hits on that bright blue machine. Riding on board, coming down towards Kops. This is Austin, who's being chased by Geddes and Zegalar. So fight for 10th.
Yeah, fight for 10th here. Looks like Zegalar was able to get a little bit of a better run through the mid-corner of Kops. Now it's going to come back to help Geddes here. They work their way down into Maggots. Let's keep an eye on how they handle this corner. Again, we've seen so many drivers get things wrong, and you can see how the car is really twitchy there under braking, Joe. Part of the reason for that is to really slow yourself down for the right-hander. You've got to let the car drift out to the left side of the track and frankly be applying braking as you're unloading the steering. So it's very, very easy to get a little bit of rear brake lockup when you do that, and when that starts to happen, the rear end of the car is going to want to break away on you, and that's part of the reason why we've seen so much of an incident point in that area.
Continuing to follow behind as they fly under bridge. This is a place where sometimes passes can happen into Priory, but he's not close enough to Sander to try a sneak attack this time, at least. We're only on lap 6 of this race, and that's a big slide from where? He's not going to be able to catch it. He comes to a halt on the inside of Brooklands.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get it stopped and lose a bunch of positions there. Thankfully, no contact with the outside wall, so that's going to be able to pull himself back around and get him going, but not before losing positions. A little bit of brake lock up there from in front and behind him as we now jump on board with Tom Daly, who has been able to pull himself up to 15th. He's not halfway done with the race here, so there's still some hope for the Wampy Motorsports driver to keep on moving, but it's not going to be easy.
He's been showing us consistently about 30 seconds behind Kavisto, so he's not losing time to him. But depending on his pace, I'm seeing likely, a 3rd place would be the utmost I would expect, unless we have a lot more issues for those in front. Not unheard of based on what we've witnessed today as we check out the battle for 4th. And Merrimon leads a train of cars down through the crossover with Peter Reed, Mann, and Alders all behind him.
Yeah, this is turning into a nice little train here, the battle for P4, and this is going to put a lot of pressure, I think, on Merrimon, as he knows that he's going to be giving really a quadruple draft to the drivers behind him. Here's riding on board with Patrick Alders, 4th in that line. He should be the one to be able to make up the most ground from this. He's just got to be a little bit aggressive.
Yeah, I think Patrick will have opportunities come his way if he just stays patient. He looks for a mistake, a slip up from the driver ahead, gets a good exit. You could easily pass them by on the way from the Maggots-Beckett sequence up to Abbey through the crossover, maybe out of here, as we have seen a few drivers start to lose the rear of the car through Luffield, and it's flat out through Woodcut, so it's all basically fast as you can go until you reach Kops here, this first corner, and even then, not a whole lot of braking, so swift part of the front of the course where you finish the lap and start the next one, and then it all comes to a quick bit of braking here into Maggots and Beckett's, but no, we can't get close enough to Mann for now. Instead, it's Peter Reed that starts to put the pressure on Merrimon.
Yeah, this is going to be just kind of switching back and forth here over the course of the running. And let's not forget something about these MX-5s. Not this most recent patch that was put in, but the previous patch that was put in really adjusted the way that these cars handle. They used to be a lot stiffer. They used to be a little bit more compliant, and they would grip the road a little bit better. Everything that I've heard from these drivers since that 2 patches ago was put in, the cars are a little bit looser. They want to break away on you a little bit more. I've been told it almost feels like there's a little bit more torque coming through the rear wheels, that you've got to be a little bit more sensitive getting onto the throttle. And so that's part of the reason why we've seen so many of these drivers start to lose it a little bit through the corners. They're just not quite as grippy as they used to be. They're frankly a little bit more responsive. And there you can see mid-corner, as we look back at Peter Reed, that rear end of the car just kind of wanting to slide away on you. Requires a lot more driver input to make sure these cars are handling the exact way you want them to.
Certainly look like they're on a knife's edge here. Speaking of a knife's edge, that's about the thickness that you had between the two of them as they come onto the front stretch, and they both go off into the grass, maybe a little distracted there. The one going to pick it up is Mackenzie Mann. He gets 5th place, maybe coming into Copse, fighting around the outside. Peter Reed tries to hang on for dear life. I don't think he has the speed. The advantage going to go to Mann as they head towards the braking into Maggots and Beckett's.
I'll tell you what, though, Reed's going to try to hold it out. McCann's going to lift a little bit. Mackenzie's going to lift a little bit early. That almost opened up the door there for Patrick Alders as they now work their way into the right-hander. Alders looking for a little bit of a crossover here at this point, but just not able to carry the momentum. Man got put off line there, and that cost him really from turn 1 all the way up to about turn 4.
Reed absolutely smoking the tires mid-corner to try and get that thing to turn. He eventually managed to get it as they break now for the Abbey hairpin. Another puff of smoke, this time ahead of them, Pedro Marimon, who's used this opportunity to try to scamper away from everybody. And this is also dropping them off of Oral, who's got a very quiet 3rd place to himself currently.
Yeah, he's about 5 seconds up the road from Pedro Marimon here at this point. Granted, about 12 seconds behind Stefan Alderding, so not looking like he's going to be able to move up the order unless something drastic happens. But still, I think he'll be very, very happy to have a bit of a quiet race.
Out of Brooklands and into Luffield once again. Back-to-back hairpins here before things pick up onto the front stretch of the track. This does look like Reed is quickly back into things. He does not hesitate at all and is basically on it from the word go. As soon as he drops back, he pushes right up to the rear bumper of Pedro. Does he try anything down into the braking of Maggots, or is he going to hold behind? He's going to have a tiny bit of toe, but not much straightaway before they have to get on the binders.
Yeah, not a whole lot here. They're going to have to get on the binders. Once again, they're a little bit Reed just applying pressure. We are at the halfway point in this race here at this point, so I think if I'm sitting in the position of that number 16, I'm not necessarily looking to go for an out-and-out move here at this point. I know I'm probably not going to be catching up to Pedro Marimon or to Stephen Oral up the road from me, so I'm content to wait behind here and just keep trying to poke and prod, try to force a little bit of a stake here out of Marimon and see if that's the way he can get by.
Also, I've been watching Daly, and he's approaching a group of cars, so we'll head over there soonish. Actually, let's go right now. Under braking, he gains a ton on David Geddes. So can he overtake them quickly? It took him a while to overtake Sander Ware, which kind of surprised me, although Sander is a relatively quick driver in his own right. Maybe just put up more of a fight than he anticipated. A little bit of a look to the inside, and he's going to be able to get the first one done. David Geddes gets out of the way. Daly now sizes up Melvin Tuen.
And I've got to say, Joe, that was a very, very pretty pass there from Tom Daly. He was just able to carry a little bit more speed coming through bridge, let that momentum carry him to what will be the inside of Priory and get onto the binders at the right time. It clearly shows Daly's ability to drive one of these MX-5s.
Familiarity with the car, working with what you've got, always going to be so critical. As we come through turn 1, through Copse Corner in the battle between Austin and Van Rassel. Van Rassel unable to hang as he falls back a few car lengths. Maybe he could make them up here. Coming into Maggots and Beckett's. Ooh, he certainly is pushing it, sends it very deep, holds onto it and gains a ton of that spot back. Just saw Zegalar lost a few spots, which is going to mean that Tom Daly is getting close to his rear bumper. In fact, yeah, Daly's going to be able to overtake Zegalar, it seems, as he's already going side by side.
Here he comes, trying to carry that momentum again around the outside as they line down the straightaway here. I don't know if he's going to have the full crossover here at this point as they line themselves up for the Abbey hairpin, but he's going to be later on the binders going down into that long right-handed hairpin, and he's going to get that one done again. Once again, the 67 just showing how comfortable he is behind the wheel of the car. That is a man who trusts the machinery that he is driving.
Thing is, remember, this is all going to be for knots, except maybe the stats, because unless he finishes higher than 4th, he's going to get those 24 points, and it just will kind of be for nothing except 7 laps to go. I'm thinking that's looking highly unlikely at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to make that up, but tell a racing driver not to race, and, well, they're not going to understand what you mean whatsoever. But we check back in on the battle for P4, Pedro Marimon and Peter Reed. Reed again, not poking too hard here at this stages, but keeping pace with the number 12 up in front of him.
Keeping that pressure on to make sure that Marimon cannot slip up and knows it. Behind them, Mann and Alders also just giving watch, seeing if the door is going to open. There have been a few moments where things have been frantic amongst this group, but otherwise it's relatively calmed down as they approach the breaking into the Abbey hairpin. Yeah, nobody able to try and take advantage except maybe going off the corner. There goes Marimon a little bit wide, not much grip in the green stuff. Reed knows it, and he's through.
Good heads up there from Peter Reed, but a great fight back from Willem van Rassel in the number 30 to get that move back done.
Yeah, that was Austin and Van Rassel there, switching around 8th and 9th. And looks like Van Rassel going to get that P8 is a little peak from Marimon on Reed for 4th position. And then switching back around to the front stretch once more. Those who are wondering what's going on with the leaders, Kavisto's just kind of run away from Alderding. It's not all that exciting up front. It's about 2.5 seconds distance.
Yeah, he's really just kind of in a field unto himself here at this point. And these battles a little bit farther back in the order are really and truly what we want to be focusing on right here, as Mackenzie Mann looking like there could be a little bit of a run, trying to be able to see what he can do. Looks like it's going to be about equidistant as he comes through Cops right now. Mackenzie not probably going to have the run going down into Maggots, and indeed, he's just going to stick in line here.
One of the few Americans in this league and trying to prove himself well right now. Ooh, Michael Ellitt's been having a bad day. I think I just saw him drop down into 22nd potentially. For our pole sitter, he's going to be pretty disappointed in the end. And here we go. Marimon's going to lose another one. Mackenzie Mann managed to exit well enough coming out of the Maggots and Beckett sequence, but he takes a very shallow line coming into the hairpin. Will it be a cut back from Pedro? He's going to try it, and now it's a drag race down to Priory.
Here they go, trying to see what they are able to do. Alders back here in the popcorn position. It doesn't look like Marimon wants to be able to have that move as he tries to now do what Tom Daly did a little bit earlier, pokes his nose to the inside, but he's going to have that door shut. That's going to be a little bit of a bad line there for Alders, and he's now going to lose some time, but Mackenzie able to get down to the inside, and then Marimon takes him back.
Great stuff here between these two. Very fair racing. Although a stout defense from Mackenzie Mann, and Marimon having none of it. He gets back into 5th place now, but Peter Reed is ahead by 1.5 seconds, so he's making good use of that distraction that those three have experienced in this past lap. There you can see the distance between them as they swing it into Cops.
Yeah, really starting to spread itself out here. Daly, I think he can be pleased with a recovery up into P10. Now, the other flip of that is James Austin, his teammate, is in 9th up the road. We'll have to see if he's able to close in, but we've got to go back to that battle here because Alders and Marimon looking a little bit scrappy.
Somehow managed to get by once again, and that's going to send Marimon off into the grass once more. Now it's Alders who capitalizes. Alders up into 6th. Marimon, who was at the front of this train, now slips down to 7th.
Yeah, and that looks like, I don't know how well he's going to be able to fight back here at this point. He does have about 5 laps. Let's make it 4.5 here as he comes around at this point, waiting for this field to come through. The one thing I can say, because this is a longer circuit, I don't think these drivers in particular are going to come into too much problem with terms of lap traffic. This is pretty much going to be a battle on their own. Riding on board with Marimon, trying to take a look down to the inside of Priory. Well defended there by Alders.
Got to watch out, though. We've seen both here in the virtual world as a bit of a late dive from Marimon sends his intentions. In the virtual world and the real world, there have been wrecks in that corner back when they did have that as a part of this race course, where drivers just miscommunicated, so that the one behind didn't think the one ahead was going to defend, outbraked himself and his rival, and take each other out into that corner. We'll see if it winds up in tears that way, or if they're able to keep it safe here in these final 4 laps. This is one of our closest battles on track right now for this 5th spot.
Yeah, very, very close. And now it looks like the momentum is here with Patrick Alders as he's going to try to pull his way a little bit closer here. Probably not going to have that look going down through Maggots and Beckett's. They've got to be a little bit cognizant, though. They're starting to catch back in on Peter Reed in 4th place. That's Reed just up the road, only about 1.3 seconds, so they could be able to get their self in there.
Yeah, they're gaining it on that number 16. And surely he knows it. He's probably got that F3 box open on his display and can see the gap shrinking lap by lap as behind him, Mann and Alders, 1-2, trying to catch him down. That's 5th and 6th place for the pair of them. Merrimon also kind of dropping off himself, so I wonder if he was a bit of a plug in this situation and wasn't as fast as we anticipated. There's a big look to the inside. Alders has got the track position, and that's P5. Oh, no, nice switch back here from McKenzie. And with this coming to another left-hander, it looks like he's going to have the spot.
Oh, and look at that. Now Merrimon in the number 12 trying to get a little bit interested as well. He's going to try to go around the outside here of Luffield. Going to lose a little bit of momentum, but if he can maybe look for a bit of a crossover, no. I think the 27 there of Alders is going to be able to hold that line down as they continue ahead.
So there's your order. Reed in 4th, McKenzie in 5th, Alders 6th, and Merrimon in 7th. Ooh, big look down to the inside from Alders, but Mann shuts the door as they go through Copse. Now down to 3 laps to go. What was a 4-car battle is kind of dwindling into this 3-car battle unless they can keep up that charge to catch Peter Reed.
Yeah, and I think Reed here has been able to grow the gap. Well, it was at about 1.7, but I think he's slowing down a little bit, losing a little bit of time, particularly through Maggots. But we've got some side-by-side here, Alders and Merrimon getting at it.
Seems like it just won't end in this group. This front of the field, but kind of mid-pack, has been thrilling stuff, defending the inside. Mann does not feel safe, trying to keep Merrimon from making a sneak attack, and look at him dive to the right-hand side, but that causes a loss of speed. These light cars, so sensitive to any scrubbing of the speed.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful on it. It's almost like driving an oval car here, Joe, when you talk about tire scrub coming through the corner. Little bit of a look there. Merrimon coming up to the inside, shuts the door on the 11.
I have a feeling this is going to come to tears on that last lap. We'll find out soon because it's already 2 to go, and it's going to be marked as 2 to go as soon as these cars cross the line. Cavisto ahead by 3.5 seconds and 20 seconds actually. Cavisto's 20 seconds ahead of 3rd place. It's been an impressive bit of pace out of the Finn. And he just missed a big accident of lapped cars that were stopped in Maggots and Beckett's. That was Bruno Albino, Arturo Davila, and actually it collected Stefan Alderding.
Oh, man, and Alderding's going to be able to continue on here, but not without some pretty substantial damage. Let's check this out. Alderding just tries to get out of the way and nowhere to go.
Punched on both sides there, unfortunately. That's going to hurt his top speed, no doubt. And then on replay, we're coming back live. Looks like that was Cavisto there in that number 1 machine. Last season's champion. Oh, what's happened to Mann?
That's Mann and Merrimon. Joe, you predicted it. It came to blows here between the two.
And that was in an unusual place. It was in the crossover. And again, just miscommunication between the 2 cars as he tries to dodge to the right-hand side. Gets into him. And that's Alders just saying, oh, thanks. That's 2 spots right there for me.
Yeah, and Joe, you hit the nail on the head. A miscommunication there between the 2. Clearly both drivers trying to go for the same piece of real estate and getting it wrong there. But that's of no mind to Cali Cavisto, who comes across the start-finish line here to take the white flag.
And Alderding has a black and orange flag. He is forced to take repairs, forced to take his spare car. So Oral's going to be handed that 2nd place. Wonder if Reed is close enough to go by Stefan as well. As Cali comes around and into the crossover, he's got a massive 20-second gap to the car in 2nd place.
Yeah, he is absolutely in good position here at this point. That's going to promote Peter Reed up into 3rd, Oral up into 2nd. My goodness, this is crazy. And the biggest movers of the race, by the way, a tie between Orals and Alders, who are both up 13.
Sad to see Alderding lose that podium position right there at the end. But the number one on the current reigning champion try to get it for a second season in a row and is going to have a good shot to try and do it at this race at least. We'll see if he gets the bonus point for fastest lap or not here, and I think he might, in fact. No, it looks like Alderding actually has a quicker one than him currently. We'll get that sorted out eventually, but Cali Cavisto, as he exits out of Luffield, all he has to do is put the throttle down nice and smooth. Another win added to his name and extends his points lead coming into the final round with victory at Silverstone.
A commanding drive from Cali Cavisto, absolutely putting in the performance when he needed it, not making a mistake when so many others around him did so.
Tom Daly managing to get up to 7th, but again, doesn't mean a whole lot if he finishes below 4th here, which looks pretty likely because Alders is a bit a ways up the road, who currently holds that position. Will wind up in quite a few cars. It was a great recovery regardless for the 67 to go through as many overtakes as he did. Oral and Reed were your next two on the podium. Look at them streaming across here. A lot of cars within about a second of each other, all in a row. But because there was so much attrition, we're only going to see 18 cars finish on the lead lap.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a scruffy one out there, and I have the main culprit to be that Maggots complex. So very tricky to get right, as they know. Trying to see what they can do here, but the last couple of drivers coming across, including Jordan Svetnov, who's going to finish in 14th.
That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike.
My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect.
How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings, where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Silverstone for the penultimate round of the Sunday Drivers' Cup in 2022. Cali Cavisto took what could wind up being a very critical win in this season's championship. Stephen Oral followed him home 22 seconds behind. Most everybody else couldn't seem to keep out of trouble. Peter Reed rounded out the podium as Patrick Alders was just off of it in 4th. Willem van Rassel, P5 for him, as Stefan Alderding was able to clamber back up to at least 6 after getting involved in an incident. And Tom Daly was literally dead last at the end of the first lap after starting on the front row. He got back to 7th in the end, but it was a little messy along the way. James Austin was P8 as Melvin Tuen P9, and Callie Rantanen finished 10th.
In 11th place, it was Sanderwera, followed by Renee Zegalar. Aaron McGrath was able to come home in 13th, with Jordan Svetnov falling down the order into 14th. Martin Peniero was in 15th, followed by Bart Verkerk, Pedro Merriman, and David Geddes in 18th. Brett Ride and Geddes were the first drivers a lap down, with Alvaro Rodriguez finishing in 20.
David Mitchell, 21st, was followed by our pole sitter, Michael Ellett, who made a mistake on the first lap and then suddenly kind of fell into the clutches and the mistakes of everybody else and just wasn't able to do much to get back from that. Bacchus was 23rd, Lopez in the 24th position, followed by Davila, P25, Longo 26th, and Albino 27th. Then you get to McKenzie Mann, 2 laps down in 28th, and DNS for Lancaster and Oliveira. Unfortunately, we have our winner ready to talk to us, and be curious to see how he feels going into that last round, because Callie, you managed to take a win today when your rival did not, but obviously the drop weeks helps limit the damage for him. Even still, this is just about the best thing that you could hope for.
Yes, this is exactly what I needed. I was almost like back against the wall tonight, because if I would have a bad race, that would have been it, because the drop races. So I'm just happy that I was able to postpone the fight to the next race.
Unfortunately, I don't see that you took the fastest lap bonus there, and obviously you didn't get the pole. So it's just going to be a straight 30 points from what I can tell for you versus the 24 for Tom. It was a wild one out there today, though, and your teammates seemed to have a little trouble getting off the line from pole. I mean, what do you think made this such a crazy race for everybody?
I don't know. I saw, before the lights went off, I saw Tsvetanov behind me taking a jump start, and then I think Michael just made a rookie mistake and he got the wheel aligned wrong way, probably. I took the first corner also very wide. I naively thought that I have more grip there, but I didn't, and it was a little bit chaotic, yeah, I admit that.
Well, the next round is a track kind of known for throwing up crazy races as we go back to the Charlotte Roval for the long version. Does that make you at all nervous, knowing that there's some unpredictability potentially going into that last round?
Not really. I haven't driven that layout before, but I think it suits me quite well, especially because the road course inside is a little bit longer than the usual layout that we're used to drive. So I don't know. I got 1 week to practice, and then we'll see who is the champion.
Well, best of luck on that. It's been a long year, and you're looking to go back-to-back. Congratulations on the win.
Yes, thank you.
Callie Gavisto, our winner here today at Silverstone. Looks like we don't have anybody else to chat with, though, unfortunately. So we're going to wrap it up as we give a big thank you to the Sunday Drivers' Cup for bringing us on for this season of coverage. And also a thank you to the team, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, where we have links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As was mentioned, the next race back to Charlotte Motor Speedway on Sunday, December 19th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.